guys, it's your girl Sibrena Stowe-Geraldino, and you're listening and watching HonesTEA On Demand. Today, I have a special guest because I'm all about honesty. Everything that's going on or has been going on in the music industry, we're giving you all the tea, what you should know, what you could know, and what you better know. So today, I got my girl. Her name is Kierstan Tucker. She's a phenomenal mom. She's a phenomenal friend. I met her in the 90s when she was, at the time, an A&R coordinator at Kadar Entertainment, which later became, he moved on to Motown Universal. But Kierstan eventually became head of marketing. Prior to that, her role was a manager of strategic marketing and business development. So let's say hey to Kierstan. Hey, Kier.
Hi.
Welcome to HonesTEA On Demand.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good, because is that you pinging?
I thought I turned it off. I didn't.
Ooh. Oh, that's me pinging from the computer. Like, OMG, why am I pinging? Because what happens on an iPhone happens on the Mac. I'm so glad you're here, Kierstan. Thank you so much for agreeing to allow me to integrate you, but not really. We're girlfriends, right?
I'm an open book, I don't have anything to hide. So whatever you want to ask me, let's go. I don't know. That might change as the questions come.
That might change as the questions get questionable. Maybe not, though. I think, you know what? I wasn't the only person that thought of you. Actually, our producer, Nicole Orsich, was like, what about Kierstan? And then your former colleague, I don't know if he was your boss or not, but your colleague, Kojo Bento, was like, Sai, we need Kierstan. And I'm like, why not? Kierstan's a little shy. Maybe she won't divulge anything. And Nicole reminded me, like, that this show is about the tea. So unless you're willing to spill the tea, no one can come on if they're not doing that. So okay, now let me approach Kierstan because it's all about the wording.
All my favorite, not just music industry people, but favorite people, the three of you.
Oh, thank you. You were such a young girl in the industry when I met you. How old were you how old were you when you got started? And how did you get started?
When I got started, I think I was 17, 18, maybe 18. I was in college when I got started.
What school did you go to?
I went to NYU. Oh. Stern School of Business.
You went to NYU?
Yeah, I went to NYU.
Who knew? I'm not being shady when I say that. The reason why I say who knew is because most of the people that I know that came from the music industry were either at an HBCU.
Yeah, most of them.
Wait, did I say it?
A lot of people were at Howard.
Yes, Howard, Hampton, Spelman. I know a couple of Clark people, but so that's interesting.
Yeah, it's
so
funny. What was your music industry? People think I went to Howard because they all went to Howard, and I'm friends with like different groups.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go to the different events, and they're like, "Oh, Kierstan went to Howard." I was like, "No."
Now,
but yeah, so I started with Violator management, Violator Records. So with Chris Lighty and Mona Scott, I was actually Mona Scott's very first intern / assistant.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it was one of the best experiences I've had throughout my career. It really was. It taught me a lot. I learned so much. In general because it was obviously my first experience working. We were actually in the Def Jam offices. So I met a lot of people, but I learned a tremendous amount from her. And I tell her that every time I see her.
That's so nice.
She was wonderful.
So you weren't so Violators wasn't at 25th Street when you were there? Where they were?
No, 160 Varick. We were downtown.
Excuse me.
Yeah, the early days.
Interesting. 160 Varick. You know
Yeah.
what? A lot of record labels started out down in Soho, the Village. Oh, isn't
Mhm.
Varick like LES, Lower Manhattan
Yeah,
somewhere,
well,
right?
real estate was
Um,
cheaper down there.
say that again.
I said real estate was cheaper down there, office
Oh
space.
yeah, right. I remember it was like dirt cheap because it was so kind of like grimy. I mean,
Yeah.
it was definitely not bad, but it was definitely back then. Varick Street was always grimy. That's before Hot 97 got there and all the radio stations. So that's interesting. So you were with Chris. Now, how was it working with Chris Lighty? What capacity? Well, you interned, you said, correct?
I started as an intern, and then about I can't even remember what it was. It was cold. That's all I remember. It was wintertime when I started. And then by the time summer came, school's out. So we have to move out of the dorms. I moved back home and Mona was like, are you still coming in? And I
Mm.
was like, no, I'm in Long Island and I'm a student and I don't have any money to commute. And she was like, oh, no. We got to get you paid. We got to change that. So she spoke to Chris and they started paying me. So I became officially her first assistant.
Nice. Okay. So that's interesting. So you start, and what year was that? Do you want to say?
Oh, girl, I'm old and I admit it.
90s, right?
It was no. Wait, let me think. I graduated high school. Yeah, 96. Yeah,
So
90.
what artists did you guys have when you were at Violator? Like who were you?
Oh, we had Busta Rhymes, and that was when his solo album came out. So Woo Ha was real hot when I started working there. He was on tour, and we had Tribe Called Quest.
Okay.
We had Mobb Deep.
Oh,
We had a lot of old school people might know. Super producer LES. He produced
okay.
a lot of stuff from
Haven't
Foxy
heard-
Brown. Chris
You
had
have
just signed
Foxy?
Foxy. He had just signed Foxy to his record label. Everybody thought Foxy was on Def Jam because I guess it was cooler to be on Def Jam.
Because that is the parent. That
But
was the
she
parent.
was on Violator Records.
Right. So Violator was under Def Jam.
Under Def Jam, yeah, for the records part of it.
Well, that's interesting because I managed Foxy and I didn't know that she was directly under, I didn't manage her at this time, but I didn't know that she was directly under Violator. I always saw the Def Jam imprint. So that's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I
And
don't know
you
what happened after, like, after some time went by, maybe another deal might have been struck, but initially she was signed to Violator Records / Def Jam.
okay. Well, who who else did you have? Because you're naming some amazing guys. Now, I always knew Busta Rhymes was with Chris.
Mhm.
I don't know if I knew Tribe and Mobb Deep was with Chris Lighty, but I kind of feel like I knew Mobb Deep was with Chris Lighty. The Foxy just took me for the loop. And now who else? Was that it while you were with the
So, uh, we had what was called the UMA, which was a production team, which was Q-Tip, Ali Shaheed, and oh gosh, what do people call him now? I always called him JD, but what is his name? Oh my gosh. He was from Detroit. He was a producer. Oh gosh. Oh
I
my
know.
gosh. Because nobody knows him as JD.
Okay.
But he's really popular. He passed away. Oh my gosh, I wish I could remember.
A popular producer
Detroit.
from Detroit that passed away.
And he had and then he had a group, a rap group. Oh my goodness, what do they call him?
We're gonna have to get back to him.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
We're gonna do some research before. Okay.
This killing me now. It's killing me.
Producer from the D, from Detroit, because Detroit wasn't getting no credit back then. So let's definitely find out who this guy is because I didn't even know Detroit even had a producer well, someone came out of Detroit and into the hip hop
Jay
era.
Dilla. Jay Dilla.
Oh, Jay Dilla, of course. Like, wow, that how could you like? Oh, he was
Because I
going by
never called him
JD.
Jay Dilla. I always called him
Right.
JD because he didn't have Jay Dilla until he started with his group.
Right.
So as a producer, we all, because his name is James, but we always called him JD. And then,
Interesting.
so whenever I would be like JD to people, they were like, who? And then I was like, oh, Jay Dilla.
Oh my goodness, yes, he was that. So Chris had him as well. So why, how long did you stay there? What exactly did you do? Being Mona's
Everything.
assistant, was she okay? You did everything. It's a small office, right?
Yes, very small office. And I think that's one of the reasons why it was such a great experience, because it gave me an opportunity. So of course, when I first started, I had to prove myself, because here I am, this young college girl, and they're kind of like, what do you know about the business? And what are you going to do? Are you just up here to be a groupie and meet all the artists that are walking through Def Jam? Everybody wants to be a Def Jam.
Right.
And I 100%, I've never been like a starstruck kind of person. I celebrate artists and I love their creativity, but I've never been like, oh my gosh,
Right.
Who is that? Or I want their autograph. It's just not my personality. And I've always been headstrong in, this is my goal, and what do I have to do to get there? So as soon as I came in, I think Mona was a little hesitant to give me any real responsibility. And I used to stay there from the time I would go to class, go to the office, stay there for as long as I could. And then if I had a class, leave and go to class and come back and then stay there till nobody was left in the office. I would be like, Mona, I'm staying here. Like, whatever you need me to do, if you need me to just sit right here and take notes or whatever it is, that's what I'm going to do. So
see, I like that, because a lot of people don't know what paying dues really was about. Like, you slept, you stayed there 24/7. I mean, you were excited. It sounds like you were excited to go and make be in this business of entertainment and make a difference. Like, when people listen to music, it's kind of like a mantra. You know what I mean? So like, you being in two young Black executives' office during the height, like the beginning of the bubble of the height. What was that like, working for another African American, that this is not a typical corporate America scenario?
I was honored. I was excited. There was an opportunity actually for me to intern at Def Jam proper, in the promotions department. This was prior to me meeting Dave, Mona, Chris, any of them. And I was excited about that, right? Because Def Jam was popping, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be up there, whatever. But when I got the opportunity, I can't remember why I didn't take that or why it didn't work out. But when I got the opportunity to go up and sit with, first it was Dave Lighty, and I thought I was going for an interview. I thought I was going up to the office for an interview.
Right.
And I guess not, because as soon as Dave came to the office, I got there early, so I was sitting there for like an hour waiting for him to show up. And then he's like, all right, you're Kierstan, come with me.
So let me just let everybody know, Dave Lighty is Chris Lighty's brother. Later, Dave is also an executive in the entertainment industry. Eventually, he went on to Jive, I believe. But yeah,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So at that time, Violator it was Chris was CEO and president. Then Dave, I think, was handling like his A&R side for both the management and the record label. Mona was primarily handling the management of the artist, while Chris was solidifying his deal with Def Jam, and signing artists for the record label side. And then there was Oscar, who was the road manager / tour manager for Mobb Deep. So there were only 4 people at Violator, and then came me. So literally it was like all hands on deck, roll up your sleeves, and whatever you need done, get it done.
So you were well experienced in every aspect of what it takes to run a management and a label.
Yep. And I knew that for this mere simple fact that there were so few people and they had so many recognizable and large or like A-list artists at the time, that I was going to learn a ton. And that's always been what I look for is what am I going to learn? Am I going to be purposeful? And how can I help these whomever I'm working with or for, or the cause? How can I help it grow and expand and just come to fruition with what the vision or the goal that they have originally?
You thought like that at your age back then?
I did. Okay. I did. So when I was at NYU, I went from international marketing and was international business and marketing, was a double major. Okay. But I knew that I didn't. So a lot of my friends were in finance and they were going to like interview with these big corporate companies. And I was just like, oh, it's just not me. I just don't want to do that. I have a creative spirit, but also a business mind. So when I got introduced to the music business was actually through my roommate at college. She came from Atlanta, and she had done some interning in Atlanta at LaFace, I think. So just listening to her talk about her experiences got me intrigued. And then when I met 2 people, one who became my very good friend, who is Fife, and another executive, Ian Alexander, who was also Chris's best friend. When I met the 2 of them and I just started talking to them, I didn't really know anything about the music business. I love music. I love to dance. I love to go out to the clubs. Right. But I didn't know anything about the business of it. And because I was searching for something, while I was in school, I started talking to Ian. He worked for Sony, but in LA. Okay. But he happened to be in town. And when I was introduced to him, I just started asking him about like, what do you do? What does that mean? What is A&R? I do marketing in college, but I love music. How can I marry the 2? Is there an opportunity? Do you need an assistant? He was like, but I work in LA. I was like, okay.
I could do it from New York. That's what I'm talking about. And you are the epitome of the type of people that we worked with. Like, we were about getting shit done. We didn't care what it take. We didn't care where you had to go to get it, as long as you got the job done and the campaign was successful. I want you to hold that note, because I want you to tell me, why don't you give me some tea on what's it really like working for Mona? I think I need a cup of tea. Hey guys, it's your girl, and we're back with HonesTEA On Demand. And as you know, Kierstan was about to drink some tea. Well, spill some tea, I should say, because you ain't drinking nothing, Kierstan. Get back on stage. Tell me, what is it really, 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 really like working for Mona Scott? I think she's a genius, but there's got to be a little craziness to the genius. And I just want to tell me, is that true? She's got to be exceptional.
She's exceptional. She is, there's a method to the madness, right? So what I've learned, and working with someone, especially a woman in the industry at that time, who had to, fight to get everything, every accolade, every opportunity, it wasn't easy. And I knew that, and I understood that. And
sound like you're getting nervous. Are you a little nervous talking about Mona?
No,
because I'm here a little.
No, because it's no secret. Mona knows who she is, okay? And she makes no apologies. And she and I have had conversations about it. And
She makes no
no,
apologies. What do you
no,
mean?
because so like I was starting to say it was very difficult for a woman in her position at that time. So, she was doing a lot. I mean, she was basically running Violator management. But at that time, nobody wanted to give her just due. A few people saw behind the scenes that what she was doing. And of course, Chris was very appreciative. I saw that in him, of the work that she was doing to help him grow his company that allowed him the space to then venture off into the record side of Violator.
Mm,
But so many people, on the outskirts within the industry, but who weren't in our company or
mhm.
our family. I say family because it did very much feel like a family. And I told Dave that not too long ago. But they all wanted to, give all praises to the Lighties, Chris Lighty. He started it, but he was the man. And, it was like, oh, yeah, Chris manages Tribe, Chris manages Busta. But Busta would tell everybody, Mona
Mona. Yeah,
manages me.
that is the truth.
So all that to say, she had to fight. Like, this it's my decision, and then they would second guess her when she would make a decision because Chris gave her that power. When somebody calls about Busta, you make the decision. Do you think he should go on that show or do that interview? You tell them. But they always wanted, oh, let me get Chris's approval. Let me talk to Chris. So she had
So wait, they were not partners. They,
not
she
in the beginning.
okay.
They became partners. He did give her a partnership.
Gotcha.
But not in the beginning.
Okay.
Again, I guess it was more of like, show me who you are, show me what you can do.
That's right.
But I think eventually, she came to him like, listen, I'm doing all this work. We need to, figure it out. And
Right.
I think he was more than happy to do that. Because I don't think it was a difficult conversation. But all that to say, for someone who has to go through that, it's stressful, right? To constantly have to prove yourself over and over and over and over when you're doing the work and it's clear. So she was getting a lot of slack, and obviously that would trickle down when
She get
the
the
boss
slack.
is stressed out.
You're stressed out now.
I did catch it.
Right. Now,
So,
I'm sorry. Say that again. You
yeah, I was
did
gonna
catch.
say, so it was a case of, yes, she could be at times difficult to work for, but I understood where it was coming from. And she
Right.
was not a nasty person.
That's what I was about to
Yeah, no,
ask.
she was not a nasty person. She was very much like big sister. What do
Good.
you need? She took me
Mm.
everywhere, introduced me to everyone.
So she's a girl's girl
Yes.
because, some would say that she wasn't. But I've been around her do a couple of things on a TV show, and all of her producers, well, not all, but many of her producers were women. So I definitely always
Mhm.
thought maybe they were giving her a bad, Mona Scott, that is, maybe they gave Mona Scott a bad rap.
Mhm.
Um, and then my personal experience with her was not like great. So it's really good to hear that she was fair. Sounds like she's a fair executive, but if she was stressed out, so was everybody else.
So was everybody else. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever heard anything, completely negative about
Mhm.
Mona, but I can say from firsthand experience, she's cynical. Like, she has a sense of humor. but you kind of gotta get it, right? So
Right.
she's sarcastic. That's what I should say. She can be sarcastic, but to me it was like, sarcastic, but in a funny way.
Okay.
Not in a demeaning way. At
Right.
least the relationship that I had with her. Um,
Yes.
but I appreciated her, being that headstrong woman, because it showed me like how to deal with men in
In
the
this
industry.
and
Yeah.
in this
And
industry, if you don't have a voice, if you don't, if you aren't assertive,
mhm,
and put a little pushy, like nobody's listening to you
yeah.
then. And it was very much a sexist type of
Mhm,
environment, right?
absolutely.
The
Mhm.
men always, and it's this today, it's not much different in the world, not just, it's not really bad that way it was because people are being exposed. Well, I shouldn't say it's not as bad as it was because I really don't know, but people are being exposed for bad deeds. Now, what was your take? Why did you leave Violator and where did you go after that? And did you like working with Chris Lighty? Because, and God rest his soul. I
Yeah.
don't want to say negative things about him, but did you have a good or bad experience about Chris, working with Chris
I had a
Lighty?
great experience working with everyone there. Like I said, it was very much a family. We were small, we were a handful of people. And even, as it began to expand, as the business began to expand, it was fun. It was a fun place to be. I liked being there. I liked coming to work. And and even through the difficult moments, there was nothing that made me say, "Oh, I can't stand these people," or, "Oh, they're getting on my nerves," or I mean, I don't know. Sometimes you might say somebody's getting on your nerves, but there was no love lost.
Right.
So, I think I was in school. I was a sophomore, and I worked there through my junior year, like to like the middle towards the end of my junior year.
Okay.
And um, I actually got fired.
What? Wait a minute. Take a.
I so I had actually brought in a friend of mine. I was going on vacation, and Mona was like, "Well, if you go on vacation, who's gonna do your work? Like, who's gonna help me?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I'm in school and I'm
I
going on
got
vacation."
it.
I'm like, I know this is my job, but
But I got
so
to take a vacation. The summer break, was it a school break
it was
or
it was during the summer, I think, or spring
okay.
break, maybe
So
the
you
spring.
thought you was gonna be taking like a long break or something?
No, it was probably like a week or
Okay.
so. But
Oh,
like I
and
said, there
nobody
was a
cared
lot
about
going
labor
on.
laws back then, by the way. Like we weren't even we would have everybody would have been sued. We would have been so wealthy just off of working overtime and not even being compensated, working overnight, not getting car service home. Well, at least they provided that at the labels. But we'll get into that because people don't even know that if you work past 7, right, they were sending your butt home in car service. Like
Yeah.
so but so you got fired because you brought in a friend? Did the
No,
friend
no, no. So because Mona was like, "Okay, I need somebody to here to help me. I can't, there's too much going on." I asked a friend of mine who was also in school with me,
okay.
who I knew had an interest in music, but I also knew was um smart and wouldn't be like the starstruck kind of person. Because that was the other thing. I told Mona, I have a friend of mine, and she said to me, "Okay, come on, Kierstan, I don't need anybody up here chasing around these artists or behind these men or whatever." And I said, "No, no, no, she's not like that." Um, and so she came up actually for like a little trial run. So she would come to work with me for like a week, I think, the week before I was going. So I could kind of show her the ropes. Um, and then and then she stayed while I left. And when I came back, because there was so much, she stayed. And I don't think she was getting paid at that point. No, maybe not. I don't think so. It was more of an internship for her. in the beginning. Maybe later on she started getting paid, but I don't know if that was like after we graduated. But anyway, yes. So here's some tea.
Please do share, because
Q-Tip had a session with Mariah Carey. And
well, wait a minute. Let's lead up to this. You can't just say, "Oh, here's some tea." Oh,
this is the reason why I'm getting to the reason.
Okay. Let's get to this tea.
No.
Q-Tip, vibrant thing.
So Q-Tip there was a session scheduled. It was for Mariah's album. So Q-Tip was producing a lot, and he was producing this track for Mariah. And the session was going to be a closed session. You know, obviously, I guess most of her sessions, if not all, are closed and private.
Yes.
Her team asked for a list of like a guest list, who would be coming, might be coming, who was, so that they could put that at the front of the studio. And if you're not on the list, you're not getting in. So Mona gave me the names of who to put on the list. And then I added my name and the other girl that I brought up, I added her name, not so that we could go to the session, because I actually had no desire to go, but because I knew how things went working in that office, meaning things came up at any moment. And Mona lived in New Jersey. Most of them lived in New Jersey, and myself and the other girl were the only two that lived right there in Manhattan because we were in school. And so a lot of times I would get called like, "What are you doing? I need you to go to Battery Studios and pick this up, or, you know, do whatever." So I was at the office, and I want to say I was there late and by myself. Or the other girl may have been there with me. But I was getting ready to fax in this list, and I was like, what do I do? Because if they call and they need something, I can't get in. And, you know, I'm like, well, do I leave the name? Do I leave my name off? Do I put it on? I'm just trying to cover all bases. So I was like, all right, I'll just put it on. I'm not going to go, but if they need me to do something, at least then there won't be all of that, you know, red tape when it happens.
Right.
So I put my name on there and I faxed over the list. Went home, went to sleep, you know, whatever, went about my day, came into work the next day. Oh, and my friend that I brought up, she said, "Did you go to the session?" I was like, "No, I didn't go." I was like, "I didn't. I just put my name there just in case I was needed." I said, "But I didn't go. I wasn't planning on going." When I got to the office, there was all this like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. What did I do?"
Right.
And Mona called me in her office and she was like, "Whose name did you put on the list?" And I told her all the names that I put on the list. And she was like, "Why did you put their name on the list?" I said, "Well, Mona, I explained everything that I just explained to you. You know, things come up all the time. You call me, you ask me to go here, do this, do that." And I said, "It's just a precaution. I didn't go or intend to go."
Right.
She's like, "Well, I understand that, but they called me. They were screaming," talking about Mariah's team.
Right.
"You think this is like a groupie list or some kind of party?" Or like, I guess they like read into her. Now, the person, whoever it was that called her, was probably way out of line, probably, you know, exercising their perceived power to the nth. You know what I mean? Like, you know how you get those people and they're like, "Oh, Mariah would never want this and never want." But in the meantime, if all went smooth, Mariah probably had no clue as to who's name, right? So like, it didn't care as long as the people who were needed showed up and nobody extra.
Exactly.
But that person, like I said, you know, if it had been Chris, they probably would not have read into Chris or said anything to him.
Of course not.
But because it was
Yeah.
Mona and she was a woman, they read her the riot act. And because she was trying to build her career, because she felt like, they're out to ruin me. And
firing you.
So she said,
go ahead.
So she said, I can't have this. And then the other thing is probably because she had a backup, which was my friend.
Right.
She probably felt comfortable, like, okay, she said, we're both headstrong and, I can't have this going on in my office, or I'm trying to work my way into, certain positions. And, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. But, we can't work together in this capacity. And I was like, what?
How freak you gonna fire me for covering all bases? Nothing negative happened. I feel bad. And so you got fired, but that's okay, because what was the lesson for you in this? Was there a lesson that you got out of this? At the time, I'm sure you felt like crap and your feelings were hurt because you made so many sacrifices, and worked hard.
My first time getting fired.
Oh, well.
And I really was, it was so innocent. And so, like, I was just trying to make sure you were taken care of.
Yes. Well, that was a good lesson for you. You needed to be fired once. That's it, right? Why not from another woman? Get that right out the way. Poor Kierstan, but it worked out in your favor. So you were able to take a little longer summer breaks. Did you jump into something else? Like, let's stay tuned and find out what Kierstan did after she was fired by none other than Mona Scott. Stand by. We'll be back. I think I need a cup of tea. And I am back here with Kierstan because she was just about to give us the tea on where the heck she went after Mona Scott fired her. Tell us what happened next. Like, first of all, how long did it take for you to lick your wounds? And then what?
So I don't even remember. I know I took some time off, but not too much time because, I'm not the kind of person that likes to stay idle. So I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to do now? I got to do something. I'm going to be graduating. So at this point, I think it was like towards the end of my junior year. I'm like, I only have another year left. I need to know that I have some options when I graduate in terms of job security. Mm-hmm. And I had only worked at Violator in terms of any sort of career movement during my college careers up till then. So I said, I need to get some different kinds of experiences. A friend of mine who I also went to school with, a different friend, was graduating that year. She was a senior and she had been interning at Motown. Okay. And she said, well, I'm leaving at the end of this semester. I told them I'm leaving my Motown. My internship's going to be over. If you want, I can introduce you. I can let them know that you're interested. Give me your resume and I'll introduce you and see if there's an option there for you. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. I would love that. And so she did. So I ended up interning for Eddie F.
Oh, wow.
Eddie F. And
he had a label deal. He had an imprint deal, production deal, or an imprint.
He had a production deal. I don't know if it was with Motown because that was
could have been Universal.
But he was executive vice president of A&R at Motown. So this was Andre Morell was president, and him and Andre were boys. Andre, Heavy D, like because Eddie F come from being Heavy D's DJ,
right?
So the whole like Uptown crew was at Motown at this time,
right?
So people like Chuck Bone and just Dice,
all the producers.
Yeah. So So it was another good first experience for me. First being my first real label, because although I was at the Def Jam offices before,
Mhm.
I was very much Violator staff and management involved.
Gotcha.
Um, so so I went to the intern for Eddie and
Mhm.
his assistant, who was Kelly Thompson, and right away, you know, they were like, okay, file, do these files.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'll start here, but is there more? Like, there's got to be more. I came from doing so much with Mona to now, okay, I know this is what you give your interns and they're supposed to be getting credit, which at the time I couldn't even get credit.
Right, because you were done your senior internships, right?
No,
Or you were a
because Stern School of Business did not give credit for music industry.
non-business. Right. Even though music is business.
They told me I could not get credit. I went to the dean's office. They told me I could not get credit.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, well, I'll do it for free. Even though I was getting paid at Violator, I was like, well, if I have to start from square one again, that's what I'm going to
Right.
do. And so one night we were in the office. It was, like not late, but like maybe 5 at the end of the day. And this was when the time when, they were handing out pink slips because they had just announced that Andre had gotten fired. So you
Andre
know how
Harrell.
it goes in Andre Harrell. So you know how it goes in the music industry. When the president gets fired,
Everybody.
all the people that they do a clean sweep. So
Yes.
all the people that he brought in, well, they were just like counting their days, waiting for the pink slips to come on their desk. Well, Eddie had come in. He wasn't coming in the office that often, because Kelly had started packing up his office. But one day he came in and he was like, "Oh, come in, talk to me, tell me how it's going, how you like working here, whatever." And I said, "Well, I have to be honest. I'm not doing much. I'm not learning much." And then I gave him my background and my history, and I say, I need to learn more. I need to be doing more." And he said, "Well, there are some ladies from the office. They come a couple of days a week. They come to my studio and on the weekend, and they help me out there." He was living in Jersey, and he said, "If you want to do that, I'll talk to them. You could catch a ride with them." Because I was a college student, I didn't drive, whatever.
Right.
He's like, "You come out with them, and I'll pay you."
Mm.
So I was like, "Oh, absolutely. I have studio experience. Like, yes, 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 and yes." So I did that for a little while. Then fast forward, because I don't want to. There's a whole lot that goes on in there, but I don't want to draw out the story. So fast forward, I graduate. I was about to graduate. I was still working with Eddie, and a friend of mine. See, it's all about who you know, because it's
Right.
always like a friend of mine knew this person, a friend of
It's
mine knew that person, and
Contexts are so important. A
so
lot of people don't realize that in this industry, it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And
right,
then you get to the what you know because you're going to
yeah,
have to learn, right? But you got to
yeah,
put yourself in those environments and around a circle of people that can actually, want to look out for you. You want to look out for them. You become family, just like,
yeah,
Kierstan, it's a gig coming up. So go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
That's that was smart.
Your network is definitely your
Yeah,
net worth.
yes.
And once you have that in place, then all of your abilities, they're able to see what you can do and then push you out to all the opportunities that come across their desk. But so a friend of mine knew um Shantae Page, who was working for Kedar.
Wait. We're about to go to a station break because I
Okay.
actually found the pause button on StreamYard. My
Ah,
producer is not here today to be working these things. So she gonna kill me because we've been like station break pausing and just like being cute for seconds. We're going to take a pause because we're about to get into how you, first of all, you're not going to avoid how you're not at Eddie F, right? Did you get
Oh, no.
fired? Wait,
Oh,
you got.
no.
Wait. Did you get fired? Did you leave? Why? I definitely want to know, how was he as working with him? Was he, because you're an attractive girl. None of this guy never tried to hit on you. Like,
Are we at a station break or am I?
we on that station break. We about to get that to you in a minute.
Oh.
I'll be right back with more with Kierstan Tucker. I am back with Kierstan Tucker, and she is about to spill that tea. Tell me the truth. Did Eddie F or any of the guys at Violator or Def Jam, your work environment, you're a beautiful girl, did they try to hit on you? I already know that you better not tell me a lie, because I might know some people that told me something. But did they try to hit on you? And why were you like talking about Shantae Page before ending Eddie F story?
Because it leads in.
Oh.
All of my stories there's a flow.
Are leading up to. But wait, did he try to hit on you ever while you were working there in the studio so close?
While I was working with him, no.
While you were working, no.
But I mean, the music, I don't know if it's still like I imagine it is, but everybody was hitting on everybody. I mean, from when I was at the Def Jam offices, when I was at Violator, from artists to executives.
Were you hitting on everybody?
No.
Okay. So everybody.
I'm talking about the men. Well, some women.
The men were hitting on you because you're attractive. They ain't just hitting on everybody.
I think, yeah. I mean, I look okay.
You're easy on the eyes,
and I was,
and you're bright.
Things done.
And I'm qualified. If you want to hit on me. It didn't lead anywhere, did it? Did you ever date your bosses or any of your bosses?
My bosses? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Right. My bosses, the artists, maybe. My bosses, absolutely not.
I've dated people in the music business, yes, but nobody that I was working for. I never wanted that to be my story. Whether I found them whether I thought they were an attractive person or not, I never developed that kind of. I was careful not to put myself in those kind of situations.
Good. And that's something that I'm glad you said. You were careful not to put yourself in that situation. So
yeah, I never gave them any ideas like, yeah, if I slide a little to the left, I might be able to, convince her. No. I made it pretty clear. If there ever was any inkling of like, oh, he might try, I shut it down pretty in a way that let them know like, okay, she's not with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's good, because there is a way that you can do it and not put yourself in a uncompromising situation, or a situation that you'll regret later, because you know what it is, like these guys have women access to women, period. So like you're probably, not always, you're probably just an experience that they want to try, not you per se, but I'm just speaking to women across the board, like refrain, because it's not even worth it. But Shantae Page, honey, that's another conversation, because you said that we about to get to Shantae Page, and Shantae Page used to work for Kadar. Did she date Kadar?
I don't know.
No? Okay. I used to hear that they dated. I didn't even know. I didn't realize that I remembered her from Kadar Entertainment. I knew her from Universal or something, but Kadar Entertainment now is like, okay, I think, but I thought they were dating. That's why I thought the Kadar name.
Yeah, I don't know. There's rumors, always rumors. And then it's hard to say, because I never witnessed anything.
Right.
And Shantae, like she was kind of like me. I mean, she's older than me, so she would be like more of a big sister, but she was like me in terms of wanting her work to speak louder than, she's like, we were the kind of women that we always had male friends, right? So our closest friends tended to be male. She was friends with like Ryan Glover, all the people that went to Howard, because she went to Howard. So most of those were men that were in entertainment and then started doing their own thing in the music business. And I think she also was in Atlanta for a while. So that whole scene, Jazzy Faye, like she knew a lot of those producers, and she actually brought a lot of those producers onto projects at Kedar Entertainment. And I always had a lot of male friends, like close male friends, but never had anything more than a platonic brother-sister relationship with them. So I have no idea, I stayed away from the gossip and the rumors when I was working. I really didn't have time for that nonsense. To be honest with you, somebody would come to me and say, "Oh, it's so-and-so day." I'm like, I don't know, go ask them. Oh, you're on mute.
Can you hear me? Because I have been talking and I noticed you were talking and you didn't
Oh,
get
I
a
was
shit about.
talking over you.
Yeah. I was like, okay. I was gonna say, I don't know what I was gonna say, but I was definitely going to say that I am in the middle of a darn freaking hot flash. Ooh, and y'all can get back to the honesty because this is really the honesty. I was sitting here half dying while you were talking and hoping that I wasn't glycering or that you couldn't see me feeling myself like I don't have air conditioning in sunny South Florida. But anyway, so let's go back to Eddie F. So you're at Eddie F. How
Mhm.
did you get to Shantae?
Okay, so I was at Motown still working with Eddie, and at the office and then at his studio. But I was about to graduate. So this was like graduation for colleges in May. So this was, like springtime. And I was thinking to myself, people at Motown, they were saying, stay here, we'll have a position for you. But it was like nobody knew what they were doing at Motown in terms of were they going to have a job or not, because they were still transitioning. Andre had left. They brought in a guy, his name was George Jackson. He came from the film industry, and he was super nice. I had a chance to sit with him and talk to him, about my goals and aspirations. But they were still like getting rid of people. The projects weren't really in full motion. So people didn't really know what was going on. And so I said, it's shaky here. It wouldn't be smart for me to, bank on those promises of having a position in a place that's not really stable. I need to look somewhere else. So a friend of mine said, well, I have a friend that recently started working at Kedar Entertainment, and she's looking for an assistant. If you want, I can talk to her for you, and maybe she'll call you for an interview or whatever. So I was like, okay, yes, please do that. But I always say, you never know what the opportunity is going to lead to. So I always say yes, and
But
then think about, do I really want to do this after? Because I never want to say no and shut it
right,
down and then
right.
change my mind. So I always say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it in motion. And then if I decide it's not for me, then I can decide that after. So after Shantae called me to set up an interview, I started getting nervous because I started hearing, the rumor mill.
Okay. But what
People
rumors were
talking
you
about, huh?
hearing? What rumors?
People talking about Kedar
Oh, ha!
and how difficult he is to work for, and just different stories, their experiences of him. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is, I was nervous. And I'm like, can I work for somebody that's terrible? And is he really that horrible as they say? And so I went to Kelly Thompson, and I said, Kelly, I have this opportunity, and I'm not sure if I should take it. What do you think? And so I told her what it was, and she was like, you know what, Kierstan, your experience could be totally different than what other people's experiences are.
Mhm.
So I think you should check it out, go see what it's all about, and see if it's for you, because you might have a completely different experience. And I kept that piece of advice that she gave me with me through the rest of my career up till today.
Nice. Where's Kelly today?
Kelly is living her life I think she's in Barbados. I think she lives in Barbados.
What is she doing there?
So she and her husband have like a lifestyle company. They do events. I know she was doing like property management for people like Puff and
high-end
and
luxury.
some high-end, luxury, some high-end celebrities and clients. But she also does like event planning, and her husband had a florist, and he actually did all of the flowers for Beyonce's wedding.
Well, so I know the woman that actually did all the decorating for that rooftop wedding, and all the flowers that were there were gorgeous. They were like really flown in internationally.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Talent.
Okay, so shout out to, I remember her name. I don't know if I know her. There was a couple
I'm
of
sure you met her, because she actually ended up coming over to work to be Kedar's assistant after he became president, and then she moved into marketing.
Okay, that's why I would know her name, Kelly Thompson.
Yeah.
Kelly Green, Kelly Thompson.
I know, right? There was so many KT. So in the music business, that's why I have KT as my name. Everybody knew me as KT.
Yes.
But before I graduated, when she was at Motown, they called her KT. At Motown, like all of the uptown people called her KT. So I don't even know how I got the nickname. I think it's because people can pronounce my name.
Kierstan, because Kierstan. I know how to pronounce your name, Kierstan, because I'm from the suburbs too, Kierstan. And we don't know many Black girls named Kierstan. Right. But Kierstan, we know Kierstan. You are an original. I love it. Because you really are a suburban girl. In fact, people don't know that you and I kind of live down the street from each other. And yeah, I remember, how did I find out? I think one day I had to drop something off to you in Long Island. And I was like, I live down the street. I'm on like right off of Atlantic. And you're like, oh, I know that neighborhood, my Baldwin Harbor neighborhood. And I'm like, and then I came to your house once. I think I dropped something off like a couple of times, but we never hung out. And I find it very interesting because like I was a young mom then, but by the time Saturday and Sunday rolled around, it's not like we wanted to see each other. We kind of needed to decompress because people don't understand. Even our work hours started at 10 in the morning and it ended very, very late. So you were lucky.
It never ended.
It never ended. You were lucky if you got home. Like I would get home. I had a nanny for my daughter, but I would try to get home by 9 o'clock. And I think about that today as a mom, like being in the entertainment industry, and just, I was so blessed that, my daughter is healthy, because I wasn't hanging out in the recording sessions, with anybody. I was more so the daytime person. So how did you leave Eddie? Did he say I gotta leave, or did he fire you, or did he say, you know what, go to your next move, or what? How did that?
I told him. So I interviewed with Shantae, and she offered me the position
of what position? A&R?
A&R coordinator.
Okay.
/ assistant.
Okay.
So she was in A&R. She was Kedar's A&R.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was her assistant / a coordinator. But yeah, so yeah, I let Kelly know, like, I got the job, and then told Eddie, and they were happy for me because, they knew what was going on over there. Like, nobody knew, which was so funny because when Kedar, so I started working at Kedar Entertainment, right? He was in the Universal. It's so reminiscent of working at Violator in the Def Jam offices. So now I'm working at Kedar Entertainment, which is another small label / management company, right? But under the Universal Records label, because Kedar had his deal with Universal for Erica, Badu, and Chico.
And A+.
A+, and then Profile, and
I don't even know Profile, so I don't know what you're talking about. It was A+ first, right? And then it was Erica and Chico. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because when I bought the media, A+ came first before everybody. Then it was like Chico and Erica. Chico came next. Then Erica's release. I'm not saying she got signed. I'm just saying their release dates. So we're going to go to a pause so I could flip my hair properly because it's a hot mess
look
right now.
gorgeous, girl.
Huh? Say it again.
I say, you look gorgeous, girl.
I look gorgeous, girl. Just let it be. No, but I just got to get my notes out, take a station break so my producer knows where to chop this shit up at. And I'm coming back. Just give me a minute. We'll be right back with Kierstan Tucker and these stories with her Motown Kedar Entertainment life.